Hey, happy Monday. Hello. I am Shamaree. I'm a relationship expert and intimacy coach. And I'm going to go into my story a little bit. I realized that I have some new followers, and a lot of you might not even know why or how I became an intimacy coach, relationship expert. So I did want to give a little bit of information on that today. Hello. Just to kind of share my story, why I do what I do, and how I do what I do, essentially. So I hope everyone had a good weekend. My weekend was very much filled with adulting. So like cleaning, running errands, and all of the fun things that we have to do. But I am, good morning, hello. But I hope that you had a good weekend, whatever it was that you were doing. I am going to share kind of chronologically, I guess, how I became an intimacy coach and relationship expert. Hello. So I am Shamaree, if you do not know, and so I'm a relationship expert and intimacy coach, but that came from being a therapist. I'm a marriage and family therapist. That is what I went to school for. So I have a dual master's degree in mental health counseling and marriage and family therapy, and that is what I've always wanted to do. I always like to tell people, like, from teenage years, like middle school, I always liked talking about relationships. I think that most girls anyway that age do, but I really enjoyed like giving advice and guidance and helping figure out dynamics with relationships, and I've always wanted to do that. And at that time I said I wanted to be a therapist. I didn't know what a therapist really did. I never saw a therapist. I didn't know any therapist, but I just felt like that's what I wanted to do. And as I got a little bit older and I went to high school and college and I started taking all the courses, it kind of confirmed that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And so I went to grad school, got the degree. After that, I had been doing therapy. And so I had been doing that for years. And I always like to share how this is very personal. So like, obviously I chose marriage and family therapy before I really knew anything, before I had a lot of relationship experiences or anything like that. But as I was learning to be a therapist, that's as things were kind of unfolding for me in my personal life. So I met my husband, who was absolutely not my husband at the time. When I was in grad school, I was like 22. I met him. We both worked at Toys R Us. And so we met and we became friends with benefits. And that's all it was supposed to be ever. But throughout that process of us interacting in that capacity, he kind of called some things out about me, and he told me that I was very disconnected. I wasn't allowing him to be really close to me, and that kind of triggered me, because one, nobody ever had any complaints before that, so I just got very defensive, but also I didn't want to feel like there was something wrong with me, but when he mentioned that, I had to really kind of take it in and think about it. So I get defensive first, but the type of person that I am is I listen to what the person has said and I try to find if there's any information or any sort of support to their claim. Maybe they are seeing this, maybe they are feeling this about me, and maybe there's some truth to it, right? And so anytime anybody says anything to me, even if I don't agree, I'm going to think about it after the fact. So I thought about it and I'm like, okay, maybe he ain't wrong, right? He might not be wrong. And so I thought about it, and trigger warning for anyone. If you don't have coping skills or you don't have support people or anything, you can kind of step out and come back in like 2 seconds. But when I was 17 years old, I was raped. And so as a response to that, I think that I just stopped allowing people to get close to me. And so when I thought about it, he wasn't wrong. I was disconnected. I wasn't allowing him to get close to me. And so as I'm learning to be a therapist, obviously, like, I can't ignore this, right? And so after that, I had sought out services that were not connected to like school, because they make you, when you become a therapist, they make you go and get therapy also. But just going on my own exploration to figure out how this is impacting me, why it's impacting me, and how I can take control. Because me allowing this reaction, whether it was conscious or not, in a way that was still allowing this situation or this person to have control over me. And I'm not the type of person that wants to be controlled or told what to do in any capacity. So I absolutely had to deal with this, right? And throughout that process, I've been in and out of therapy throughout my whole entire 20s. In and out, trying to figure things out. But in that journey and in that search, I was looking primarily for someone who looked like me. So that was very difficult, especially considering this is prior to the pandemic. And so at the time, people are doing things in person. Virtual telehealth, that wasn't so much a thing. And so the people in the area that I was in, there's just not a whole lot of Black therapists, and especially therapists who specialize or who are super comfortable with talking about sex. Therapists, we take one course in human sexuality when we become a therapist. Anything beyond or more than that, it is up to that therapist to go seek out additional resources, seek out additional education in order to learn more about it. And so a lot of therapists don't necessarily have the breadth of knowledge, but then also people get weird when you start talking about sex, right? Like, I think we all kind of know that. Some people get uncomfortable. They don't want to use the right terminology. It's just a weird thing to talk about, right? And so in my search, I wasn't finding it. So I did get help. I had therapists, I had a sex coach, but none of them looked like me. And not that they can't be helpful, it's just culturally there's some things that I probably would not have had to explain if I was talking to another person who was culturally similar to me. And so throughout that process and me having a struggle, and this is like a decade, right? So this is a decade of me going in and out of therapy, seeking services appropriate to what I'm looking to work on, right? And I believe that if I was able to find someone that understood me a little bit more and who was super comfortable and had the knowledge and experience to work with my issues in particular, that it would have been much more helpful. And so if a person who's a full-blown therapist, is having a hard time finding services that are helpful, then I know that people who don't even have that as a starting point are having a lot of difficulty finding services appropriate as well. And so I decided to start doing the coaching as a response to that. So being a voice, a person that people can see, I can see anyone in any state and I can see anyone in any country. Technically with the coaching, with therapy, you can only see people who are licensed in the same state that you reside in. So if you're looking for a therapist, if you don't live in the state that the therapist has a license, then you will not be able to see them. Even if you feel like they're the person who can help you, even if you feel like you can relate to them, none of that matters. And so with the coaching, I don't have to think about any of those things. You don't have to worry about any of those things. So if you feel called or connected to me in any way and feel like I'm the one that can help you, we don't have those limitations. And so that was a reason that I wanted to do that. And then also just my own personal experience. I have struggled with intimacy. I have struggled with sex. And I think that it's important for me to help people who may have been like me. I was not necessarily in denial, but after my assault, I didn't tell anyone. I cried, went to sleep, woke up the next day, life back to normal, right? And so I didn't think that I had an issue. And sometimes that's the case. Like, we don't necessarily realize or know that we're experiencing something until maybe someone else calls it out or until something major happens and there has to be a change. We have to acknowledge it, right? And so I think it's important for me to talk about these things, maybe share some of the symptoms, some of the things that you may be experiencing or thinking or feeling, and let you know that I'm available to help. So I hope that this kind of starts to bridge a little bit of a gap. I know that now a lot of things are more virtual, telemental health services and all of that. So that definitely helps with access because I was in San Diego if you know, you know, like the population of Black folks is very small. And so to think even smaller and smaller and smaller as we get more specific. So looking for a Black person who's also a therapist, who also specializes in speaking about sex and sexuality, intimacy, relationships. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? The percentage. And so hopefully if you live in a place like that, this can be one of the solutions. And I know there are plenty. I follow a lot of coaches in this area. So if it's not me, you can still reach out to me if you need help finding someone appropriate, because I can also point you in the right direction. It ain't gotta be me, but if you need help, do not be scared to ask for help. I used to be that way too. I didn't want to have to ask for help I figured it out myself, right? I'm a therapist. I could figure it out myself, but I promise you it's way faster to have someone help you through the process. You ain't gotta do it alone. So that's a little bit about why I decided to do this. I kind of mentioned the how. Like I said, I'm a therapist. I went to school for it. I got 2 master's degrees to do that. And then I have worked as a therapist. I worked with a lot of different types of populations. I worked in a prison. I did a lot of substance abuse. I did IOP, which is intensive outpatient. I did outpatient. So I did a lot. I did EAP. So that's kind of how I already have that training. But then I also took on additional schooling. Like I mentioned, some people don't. After they become a therapist, we take that one course. If they don't want to continue their education in sex, they don't have to. It's not a requirement, but I wanted to learn more, and so I did complete a program in sex therapy. So I do have more than just that one class of knowledge regarding sex and sexuality, and being able to treat that in others, right? And so if you're looking for someone, like I said, it ain't got to be me, but make sure that you're looking for not only if they sound like someone you feel comfortable talking with, because that's very important, someone you're comfortable with, but also make sure they got the education or experience that's going to help address the issues that you have specifically. So I do have that. And so I have the Shamaree LAB, that is the relationship and intimacy coaching services. And that's completely separate from therapy. I cannot see you for both. So that's a question I get, no. So just keep that in mind. If you have other questions or anything that you want to ask, I'm pretty open about my journey and how I got here. So if I didn't answer that question, you can definitely leave a comment. If you're watching the replay, you can hashtag replay and comment below. Definitely let me know. But I am accepting one-on-one clients right now. So if you are interested in working on your relationships, intimacy, or sex, I got you. The link in my Instagram bio is you can go ahead and schedule your free breakthrough call. Definitely do that. Hey, you're welcome. Definitely do that soon, because my schedule will be changing and it's going to be much more limited. So if you're wanting to do it, definitely do it now. Also because, I know the new year comes up. People don't start thinking about what they want to work on for the new year until we get to the end of this year. But if you start now, you can already be in your new habits. You can already be experiencing this new relationship, this new body, this new confidence, whatever it is. You can already be experiencing it if you start now, before the new year even comes in. So it'll already be new. You'll already be in your new whatever, right? Your new life, and living it as you start the year. So you'll just be maintaining once the new year comes around. So you don't have to wait. If you got goals, if you have things in mind that you want to work on, start now. Like I said, my schedule is becoming much more limited, so if you want to do it now. Now is the time. And like I said, if you have questions or anything, definitely drop it in the comments. I do my best to get back to everybody. Anything else, like I said, if you need to connect with me because you want to work with someone else and not me, I'm still open for that. I want people to feel their best, to be their best self, and it ain't gotta be me. I can't help everybody. So I will still do my part to point you in the right direction. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I have some more adulting to do. I'm washing clothes, and so let me go do that. I hope you enjoy your day. I will see you guys later.